There is a health crisis happening right now in America, and it is not making headlines. It is not being discussed in most doctors' offices, and there is a very good chance it is affecting someone you love, maybe even you. The US Surgeon General released an advisory that called it an epidemic, a formal, official epidemic, and the finding at the center of that report stopped researchers cold. Loneliness is now killing more Americans over the age of 65 than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Not as dangerous as smoking, more dangerous. Let that land for a moment. We have spent decades as a country fighting tobacco, warning labels, public campaigns, billions of dollars, and yet here we are, with a silent killer that is arguably more destructive, that most of us are not even treating as a health issue at all. Today on the Longevity Report, we are going to change that. This is the Longevity Report. And today, we are talking about loneliness. Before we continue, an important note. Everything in this video is grounded in peer-reviewed research and official public health guidance, including the US Surgeon General's 2023 advisory on loneliness and connection and studies published through 2025 and 2026. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for advice from your personal physician. Please always consult your doctor about any health concerns. Let us start with something that might surprise you. Loneliness is not the same thing as being alone. This distinction matters enormously, and it is one that researchers are very careful to make. You can live alone and feel completely connected, purposeful, and socially nourished, and you can be surrounded by people every single day, at family dinners, in a busy household, in a retirement community, and still feel profoundly, achingly lonely. Loneliness is not a physical circumstance, it is a perceived state. It is the gap between the social connection you have and the social connection you need, and that gap is what does the damage. According to the Surgeon General's advisory, more than 1 in 3 American adults over the age of 65 report feeling seriously lonely on a regular basis. 1 in 3. That is not a fringe statistic. That is an epidemic hiding in plain sight inside tens of millions of American homes. So what is actually happening inside the body when loneliness becomes chronic? Because this is where the science gets genuinely remarkable and genuinely sobering. When your brain perceives social isolation, it activates the same stress response as physical danger. Your body cannot distinguish between being chased by a predator and sitting alone in a quiet house, feeling disconnected from the world. Both register as threat. Both trigger a flood of cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Both activate what researchers call a hypervigilant state, where your nervous system stays on high alert, scanning constantly for danger that never quite arrives. Now imagine that stress response running not for an hour, but for weeks, months, years. A landmark 2025 study from the University of California, San Francisco found that chronically lonely adults over 65 had cortisol levels consistently 18% higher than their socially connected peers. And we already know from prior research what sustained elevated cortisol does to the aging body. It accelerates cellular aging, it suppresses immune function, it increases systemic inflammation, and as we discussed in our brain health episode, it physically shrinks the hippocampus, your memory center. Loneliness is not just making people sad, it is accelerating the biological aging process at the cellular level. The cardiovascular impact alone is staggering. A major meta-analysis published in Heart Journal found that social isolation increases the risk of coronary heart disease by 29% and the risk of stroke by 32%. These are not small margins. These are numbers that rival the risk profiles of high blood pressure and physical inactivity. And a 2026 review published in The Lancet confirmed what we mentioned in our introduction, that chronic loneliness is associated with a 50% increased risk of developing dementia. Not 5%, not 10%, 50%. Your social life is a medical issue, and it is time we started treating it like one. Now, here is the part of this conversation that most health content completely skips over, and I think it is the most important part. Why is loneliness so epidemic among Americans over 65 specifically? Because understanding the why is what makes the solution actually workable. The truth is that American society has systematically dismantled the structures that kept older adults socially connected for most of human history. Retirement removes the daily social rhythm of work. Adult children move away for careers and opportunities. Long-term friends and spouses are lost to illness and time. Driving becomes harder. Mobility decreases. And unlike many other cultures, American society does not have strong built-in mechanisms for reintegrating older adults into the social fabric of community life after these losses occur. You do not lose your social connections all at once. You lose them one by one, gradually, quietly. And before many people realize what has happened, the isolation has become deep and chronic. This is not a personal failure, it is a structural one, and recognizing that is the first step toward doing something about it. So what actually works? Because this is ultimately a video about solutions, not just sobering statistics. Researchers studying social connection and longevity have identified 5 evidence-based strategies that genuinely move the needle for adults over 65. The first is what psychologists call purposeful engagement, meaning social interaction that is built around a shared goal or activity rather than socializing for its own sake. Joining a walking group, a book club, a gardening club, a faith community, or a volunteer organization gives your social interaction a structure and a purpose that makes it sustainable and deeply satisfying in a way that casual socializing often does not. The second strategy is intergenerational connection. A 2025 Stanford study found that older adults who had regular, meaningful interaction with people significantly younger than themselves showed measurably lower loneliness scores and stronger cognitive performance over time. Mentoring, tutoring, or simply spending intentional time with grandchildren or younger neighbors delivers social nourishment that same-age interaction alone does not fully provide. The third strategy is technology with intention. Video calling is not a substitute for in-person connection, but research consistently shows it is dramatically better than phone calls alone for reducing loneliness because it activates more of the brain's social processing circuitry through facial expression and eye contact. If you have family or friends at a distance, a weekly video call is genuinely therapeutic. The fourth strategy is what researchers call social prescribing, which simply means asking your doctor to treat your social health as seriously as your physical health. In the United Kingdom, this is already standard practice. American physicians are beginning to adopt it. If you are feeling isolated, bring it up at your next appointment. You deserve support for this just as much as for any physical symptom. And the fifth strategy, and perhaps the most powerful of all, is simply this. Reach out first. Do not wait to be invited. Do not wait for someone to check on you. Research on social connection consistently finds that the act of initiating contact, making the call, sending the note, showing up at the door, produces measurable improvements in the initiator's own sense of connection and well-being, often more than receiving outreach does. The people in your life who matter to you are very likely waiting for exactly the same invitation you are waiting for. I want to close with this. The Surgeon General of the United States does not issue formal health advisories lightly. When the nation's top doctor uses the word epidemic, it means something. It means this is real. It means this is serious. And it means this deserves our full attention. You have spent your whole life taking care of other people, your health, your family, your responsibilities. Today I want to ask you to do one thing. Think of one person, just one, who you have been meaning to reach out to, and do it today, not tomorrow, today. That one phone call, that one text, that one knock on a neighbor's door might be the most important health decision either of you makes this week. If this video mattered to you today, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Longevity Report for science-backed guidance every single week.